Why you shouldn't eat low carb. I thought we were past this in 2022, but guess not. So many people are afraid of carbs and think that the only way that they can lose weight is to cut carbs from their diet, either entirely or at least drastically reduce the amount of carbs that they eat. Even if thankfully things are starting to change, I still see this with a number of my clients who think that they can just cut carbs and then they wonder why they are starving all the time or why they're binging all the time. So in this video, I'm going to talk about why you should not be eating low carb and why eating carbs can actually be the best thing that you do for weight loss. So first of all, what exactly are carbs? Carbohydrates are one of the 3 macronutrients that you need to live, along with protein and fat. And they are essentially a chain of sugars that can come together to form even longer chains of sugars. And carbohydrates act as energy for the body, and also they compose some of its molecules. They're found in lots of foods, mainly fruit, legumes, starches, grains, cake, cookies, soda. There are 2 types of carbs, whole carbs and refined carbs. And whole carbs are the unprocessed carbs that contain like the healthy and nutritious parts. And you find these carbs mainly in whole grains and beans, legumes, fruit, veggies. Refined carbs have had most of their healthy fiber and nutrients removed, and they are very quickly digested. They have high glycemic index most of the time, and so they will cause your blood sugar to rapidly spike and then your insulin to rapidly spike, and they will not be giving you like energy throughout a long period of time. And they're found in anything with like table sugar, candy, cakes, soda, treats. Do carbs make you gain weight? No, carbs spike your insulin. That is the normal healthy response. When you eat sugar, your insulin is going to spike in order to get that sugar into your cells. That is normal. And yes, insulin prevents fat burning. But again, that is totally normal. It's just because your body would rather use the sugar that it has, the carbs that it has, that you're currently eating, rather than going into its fat storages. And that would be the same if you were eating protein or fat. Your body still would prefer to eat what you're feeding it right now rather than tap into the storages. The only thing that can cause your body to tap into those fat storages is to be in a calorie deficit. It's not to not eat carbs. Also, carbs contain 4 calories per gram, which is exactly the same as protein, and much fewer than fat, which contains 9 calories per gram. So I really don't get why we're demonizing carbs like that and saying that they're the macronutrient that makes you gain weight. The benefits of carbs. So maybe the confusion stems from grouping all of these carbs together, thinking that you're gonna get the same thing whether you eat an apple or a cookie. But whole carbs especially are so important. They are your body's main source of fuel, and your brain literally thrives off of carbs and cannot function without them. Multiple studies have shown that people who eat plenty of fruit and vegetables, so carbs, have way better health outcomes and fewer disease rates than people who don't. Eating fruit and veggies is associated with a reduced risk of coronary heart disease, a reduced risk of type 2 diabetes, a lower cancer risk, a reduction in strokes, and can improve your psychological well-being. But fruit and veggies aren't the only carbs that you should be eating, because whole grains and legumes are also extremely beneficial. And studies have shown as well that they are linked to a lower risk of type 2 diabetes and a lower mortality risk. Fiber is also a type of carb, and fiber is absolutely essential to help your gut bacteria thrive, your good gut bacteria. And also fiber is linked to a reduced risk of many diseases like diabetes, heart disease, obesity, and it can also really improve your digestion and then help with weight loss. Even if most low carb people don't classify fiber as like a net carb and they're like fiber is okay to eat, well, fiber is found in foods that are pretty high in carbs. So if you're not getting these foods that are high in carbs, then you're not going to be getting that very, very essential fiber. The problem with a low carb diet. So first of all, if you're not eating whole carbs, then you're not getting any of the benefits that I mentioned previously, and that on its own is a pretty big thing. But it doesn't stop there. Probably the biggest issue is that drastically cutting carbs from your diet is inevitably going to lead to restriction. If you're not eating enough whole carbs, your brain is going to crave that sugar because it needs it. That's what it thrives off of. So it's going to want to get sugar in forms that are easily accessible, maybe more easily accessible than whole carbs, and so you're going to start craving cookies and treats, things like really high sugary foods, soda, where your body can easily access carbs. This is why ultimately I believe that cutting carbs too much will lead to weight gain, because when you're eating whole carbs, you can eat pretty good amounts of food and feel really satiated and get all the benefits, and then you have less chances of wanting to binge on treats like sugary high calorie foods. And I see that a lot with my clients who think that it's better for them to like save their calories by not having any carbs with their own dinner, for instance, having like broccoli and chicken, and then being like, well, I didn't have any carbs, it's fine if I have like a little dessert, and then they eat an entire thing of ice cream and cookies and wash that down with soda. You see how this is going to cause more weight gain than if you were to have added some pasta to that chicken and broccoli and then just had like some fruit for dessert. I see it in myself so much on the days where I don't have enough whole complex carbs. I end up craving sugary foods and I end up eating way more calories than if I had just had carbs to begin with, whole carbs to begin with. And the reason why I say that all carbs have benefits, even refined carbs, is because yes, you should be eating more whole carbs than refined carbs. You should be focusing on that. You should be making sure that you're having whole carbs with every meal. But that doesn't mean that you can't have the refined carbs, because they are going to prevent you from having too many cravings. And so if you're letting yourself have a cookie or like some chocolate or like a donut or whatever once in a while with your other sources of carbs and your other sources of like other macronutrients, then you are way more likely to be satisfied with your way of eating and then not to crave all of these other types of carbs and to have them all the time or like to binge on them. The thing you have to remember about carbs is that they are absolutely essential in order for your brain to function properly and for like your entire body to function. So your body is gonna get them. And if you're not giving your body whole carb, if you're not getting whole grains and fruit and vegetables and beans, legumes, things like that, then your body is going to give you craving signals for more refined carbs that are more easily digestible, easily accessible, so that it can get the sugar right away. Weight loss is never as simple as it seems. Just because you're cutting carbs and cutting calories and on paper you're like, well, I'm eating less, I should be losing weight, it's never that simple, because if you restrict like that, then you're gonna feel the need to binge because your body is gonna wanna compensate and you're gonna end up having even more calories from the binges than if you were to have just eaten the carbs to begin with, and to do so like in a healthy, balanced way. So how can you eat carbs in a healthy, balanced way? That's what we're gonna see right now. So here's what you should do. Carbs should make up around 50% of your daily calorie intake. So that means that if, let's say, you're eating 2,000 calories, then you need to be eating 1,000 calories that come from carbs. And since 1 gram of carbs contains 4 calories, then that is 1,000 divided by 4. You need to be getting around 250 grams of carbs a day. So if you look at these 250 grams or these like 1,000 calories of carbs, of course, it's better that most of them come from whole carbs. So make sure that you're eating plenty of whole grains, that you're eating like brown rice and whole wheat pasta and quinoa, bulgur, and that you're also having things like beans, legumes, so lentils, chickpeas, and that you're also eating plenty of fruit and vegetables. Vegetables are very, very low in calories, so they're not going to count too much towards your carb intake unless you have a lot of starchy vegetables, which are incredible as well. But make sure that you are eating all of these foods the majority of the time. But then it's also very important that some of these carbs are refined carbs, that you treat yourself, that you have a cookie, a slice of cake, a can of soda, or whatever you like, in order to make sure that your cravings are satisfied and that you are not restricting or demonizing any type of food. Because again, the more you demonize, the more you're going to crave that food, and then that will fuel the binge restrict cycle that will inevitably lead to weight gain, and you don't want that. That's it for this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like it and subscribe, and see you on my next one. Bye.